Welcome to the Connected Leaders Academy virtual conference designed to reshape your vision of transformation. As we navigate the evolving business landscape, our speakers will unveil innovative strategies to manage and initiate change. Prepare to adapt, innovate, and lead, ensuring your role as a catalyst in this transformative era.
Poetic leadership. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. I spent 21 years of my life on a quota. 19 of those years I spent with the same company. I dealt with thousands of leaders over those 21 years. And I got to see bad leadership, experience firsthand. I got to see great leadership. And somewhere in between there, I was a great leader at times, and I was a poor leader at times. As a matter of fact, I even failed as a leader at times. Where did I fail? What does it mean to be a poetic leader? Have you ever even heard of that before? Today, we're going to dive into what this could mean for you as a leader, and more importantly, why. At the time of this live broadcast that's being recorded, we know the world is charged more than it seems like ever before. There's so much polarity in our world right now. And you might be thinking, well, I'm not a leader, but by the end of this talk, you might realize that you too are a leader. As I walked across the showroom floor, I had my first migraine. I felt like I was going to throw up. I made my way to the break room and almost collapsed. I had experienced a high stress, bad leadership situation. It was my first sales job. I was excited, enthusiastic in that first month. As a matter of fact, I even hit top sales rep my very first month in the business. But shortly after, I got to experience what not to do in leadership. This first bout with leadership was carrot and stick. If you did well, you got the reward. You got put up on the pedestal. But if you weren't doing well, you were called to the carpet or even condemned in public. As you're listening to this, you might recall a time where you dealt with a bad leader. And maybe you were publicly humiliated. How did that make you feel? Let's talk about good leadership. I moved on in my sales career. I was able to get hired with a Fortune 500 company, and I got to learn what exceptional leadership is. I remember we were off our numbers as a region. We were doing bad. Sales numbers were down, and we had a meeting. We had a new senior VP who recently got promoted to the position, and I was uncertain. I was not sure what this was going to be at this meeting. I was surprised. We went into the meeting and this leader showed up stoic yet positive. And I'm waiting for that shoe to drop, if you will. I'm waiting for that negative, like you can feel the energy. When's it coming? But it never came. What did he do different? He showed us our performance. He held us accountable. He showed us collectively how we were doing against the other regions, but he was very stoic about it. It wasn't a beat you up session. The next thing he did was he set targets. He showed us where we needed to go. The third thing, and perhaps the most important thing in leadership, he trusted us. And you could feel the trust. Have you ever worked with a leader who trusted you and empowered you and didn't micromanage you? We felt that. Then he let us go to work. He got out of the way. And lo, we overachieved. We brought ourselves back, and we had a great quarter, and we were able to celebrate together. And a couple other things I learned during this process of being in this role is that in private, personalize. Build relationships. And I want you to stay with this because I got some great things here that are going to open up your world. And even though you might know it, you're going to walk away different, even if you're not a leader, because I believe we're all leaders, whether in our families and different roles that we play. If you play a role in family or life, you're a leader. And we built these relationships. How you doing? What's going on at home? Wanted to know about my personal life. Have you ever worked with a leader who wanted to know how you were doing more than what have you done for me lately? What can you do for me today? We've all been subject to that leadership. And in today's day and times, it's still very prevalent. My intention for this is that we change that today, now, at the time you're getting this. The other great thing I want to share with you, and I learned this many, many years ago, you condemn in private, you condone in public. You condemn in private, you condone in public. And what does that mean? I referenced earlier, we've all been publicly humiliated at some point or another. I have been publicly humiliated. You have been publicly humiliated. But how about scheduling a time to talk in private? How's it going? I noticed you're not doing so well on the job. I wanted to find out what's going on with you. Poetic. When you think about poetry, and even if you're not into poetry, maybe you've heard poetic. We've all heard poetry in motion, and we like that phrase. But think about poetry. Sometimes we think poetry can be soft and floaty, but as the great poet David White says, poetry is a language in which you have no defense. Think about it. When somebody pulls you aside and says, how you doing? And they really care, you have no defense. Why? You don't need a defense. Because it's poetic, it's pure, it's graceful, it's beautiful, it's empathetic. The person cares about you. And when you feel somebody cares about you, you will go to the moon, the end of the star. You'll go to the edge of the universe for that person. And I know you've experienced that too. But perhaps it's few and far between. We've all heard the term poetic justice. Poetic justice. And if you're a parent, you have parents. We know that our parents sometimes are not great leaders. My dad was a sergeant in the Marines. And man, he knew how to bark an order out, but he didn't know about poetic leadership. He knew about get it done, carrot and stick. And carrot and stick works. It's very, very effective, but it's not where we are today. We are on the vanguard of the opening of a transformational time. And I'm going to share something here in a moment. But I want you to dial into this idea of leadership and poetic leadership for yourself. And why does the world need this now more than ever? The world is charged. It's starving for authenticity. You don't even need me to tell you this. We know that there's a call for true leadership. And true leadership requires the poetic reflection, introspection to understand my emotions and my motives and where am I coming from? Am I coming from self-validation or am I coming from humility and service to others? We know that there was a CEO just shot. A young man shot a CEO who, the CEO was doing a good job on paper. He was leading, right? He brought the company up billions of dollars. He got himself multi-million-dollar bonus. He succeeded on paper. But somewhere along the lines, something broke down. And maybe that's the collective thing that's break down, that it's not his fault and that murder is never justified in any way. But I wanted to bring this up today because to me, this is not to go down that rabbit hole, but what it says to me is that we've got to pay attention to feedback. Even if we don't like it, even if we don't, it's wrong, it's a call for us to be greater leaders, to be more empathetic, to understand how employees are feeling, how clients are feeling, to get the feedback so that we can grow into the future and make the world a better place. It's my call and it's your call if you're on here today. Let me share something with you. Two things. Humility and service is greater than ego and achievement. We may say, well, my goodness, if we just take care of people and we don't pay attention to the numbers, we might fail. But if we don't take care of people, if we don't take care of the numbers, let me back up for a second. So if we take care of people and we don't take care of the numbers, the company could go bankrupt and we could fail. But if we don't take care of people, truly take care of people, the company is destined to fail anyway. If I go back to my two examples of leadership, in the first one, the turnover was really high. We used to call it a revolving door. Everybody would come in and they'd leave because the culture was so bad. In my second bout with a Fortune 500 company, that culture was better because there was long-term relationships. People were put first. I want to draw a huge asterisk on this. Huge asterisk on this. You've got to pay attention to this. Putting people first is not a strategy. It's a way of living.
I found this on the web.
Because even in that Fortune 500 company, there were people who put people first as a strategy. That will get you further than carrot and stick, but it ultimately breaks down. So we've got to find a way to do this poetic leadership where we're putting people first and we're holding them accountable to get our numbers. How do we do it? Stephen M.R. Covey wrote a book called The Speed of Trust. The first job of a leader at work or at home is to inspire trust. It's to bring out the best in people by entrusting them with meaningful stewardships and to create an environment in which high trust interaction inspires creativity and possibility. Doesn't it feel good even saying that? Because when you feel, and when somebody trusts you, you blow the lid off of limitations. You start to think outside the box. You want to go to the ends of the earth for that leader. And for those of you on the chat, type in a leader that you've come across that personifies this, embodies this, and you just aspire to be like that person. And by the way, there's no perfect people, but there's people that do things that touch us deeply. So that quote is by Stephen M.R. Covey, and it's from the book, The Speed of Trust. Because is leadership fast? Is it slow? It has its own speed, doesn't it? The first job of a leader at work or at home is to inspire trust. It's to bring out the best in people by entrusting them with meaningful stewardships and to create an environment in which high trust interaction inspires creativity and possibility. And is building trust fast or slow? Trust is its own rhythm, but slower by the world's standards. The average attention span today is 8 seconds. It's down from 12 seconds. It's the lowest it's been. Perhaps we can slow things down. See, what I failed at, I failed because I had to learn to move slower with people. And I have a quote here for you. This is my quote. If you go fast with people, your strategy will eventually fail. If you go fast with people, your strategy will eventually fail. If you go slow with people, your strategy will appear fast in the long run. I'll share that with you again in a moment. But I failed because I put policy and revenue before people because I was impacted by the leaders above me who were putting pressure on me. I did not learn this right away. I put policy and revenue over people, and I didn't even know I was doing it. What I say about poetic leadership? Reflective and introspective. I wrote a poem about this. It's called Fast and Slow, Ode to the Navy SEALs. I moved fast to get to where I needed to go. I hustled day and night, and everyone got to know. I was on the move to finally make things right. But was all the struggle really worth the fight? Now it's time to intensify my speed. I double down to get what I need. But as I get closer, the prize moves further away. My plan is foiled. Where did I go astray? As the pain sets in, this sudden moment is real. Fast is not fast, for I made the wrong deal. Slow and thorough was the right way to go. Even the Navy SEALs live by this motto. I finally discovered the truth at last. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. I finally discovered the truth at last. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. That is one of the mantras of the U.S. Navy SEALs. And many of you are familiar with David Goggins, a guy who's out there. It seems like he's always hustling and pushing and running and hustle and grind. But he's a former Navy SEAL. And that's his secret. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Full transparency, I'm rushing this morning. But my awareness, slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. That's an original poem of mine that I wrote as a reflection of my journey, being on a quota for 21 years, always trying to get there and never arriving. And it's time to slow down, to pause and breathe. I want you to pause and breathe right now. Take a moment to just let this marinate. And let's just do this. So take a moment to just pause. I want you to breathe in through your nose here. Let your belly expand and let your lungs fill up. In the count of 4, it sounds like this. Belly fills, hold, maybe a little more air in through the nose. Relax your face. Slow exhale. And maybe do that again on your own terms. Just take a breath, pause and breathe. We're going to condition this right now. I have a pause and breathe challenge coming up starting on Monday. It's completely free. And it's this idea to embody being in our bodies, being in the moment, slowing down as an individual so we can slow down as leaders and begin to put people first, to express our hearts, to open up our heart space, empathy, grace, understanding for them. Because we know that every single person, unlimited, untapped potential, seeds of infinitude, seeds of a limitless nature are there. And when we can pause and breathe, we can open up that space and create great things. So I want you to do this again, and I want you to think about what are some great characteristics of leaders. And then we're gonna bring this to an incredible close for you today. You're gonna walk away with so much value, and if you forget everything I'm saying, I do want you to remember this. Slow down, go slow, pause and breathe. Slow down, pause and breathe. Because it's in this moment that we have the most impact. In this moment. Think of a great leader. What characteristics do they have? If you want to type them in, if you're on the chat, feel free to type those in. What embodies great leadership? Maybe we'll throw some of those words. We'll keep them here in the transcription. Graceful, empathetic, self-reflective, introspection. Looks deeper, notices things poor leaders miss. And by the way, we're not throwing accountability out the window, but our accountability to the standards that we set have more brevity, more impact when we are emotionally intelligent and connected to people. Why does the world need this now? Why does the world need this now? And you can think about that for yourself, but I'm going to share something with you here. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us. We were all gone direct to heaven, we were all gone direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present that some of the noisiest authorities insisted on its being received for good or for evil in the superlative degree, comparison only. Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities, written many years ago. So relevant today. The world needs your leadership. So in closing, think about poetry in motion. Think about the flowing of living, being in the moment, noticing the little things. Pause and breathe in your life. Reflection and introspection will get you to incredible impact. Reflection and introspection leads to impactful intention. Paint the vision from that place. Toyota has a vision out to 2050. What would your vision look like in 2050? Understand, empathy, grace, people. Slow down. People want to be heard, understood, respected, and accepted. You can write that down. Huru, H-U-R-U. Heard, understood, respect, hoorah. Heard, understood, respected, and accepted. Hoorah. Somebody know it, some other folks know what that means. And here's the ending point. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Thank you so much for your time today. My name's Austin James Haines, Fortune 500 company, to poet, speaker, and mentor.
Thank you for participating in today's enlightening session. As we transition to our next expert, remember that each strategy and insight is a step toward becoming a transformative leader in your field. Visit connectedleadersacademy.com to stay engaged and informed. The journey of change is ongoing. Let's move forward together.